Karen Burchell, Creative Katie here. Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Take time to hit the subscribe button. If you click on the bell, you can choose the option to be notified as soon as I upload new videos. That way you won't miss any. Today we have a video in the Build Your Stash series. In this series, I show you inexpensive and quick ways that you can take a little time and build your art journaling and mixed media stash. And then you have the supplies and materials at the ready when you want to create.
So today we're doing a bit of a different Build Your Stash, because part of Build Your Stash is also organizing your supplies, your stash, so that you can find it and utilize it quickly and easily. So today I've been spending the entire day cleaning up and reorganizing my studio. I've been so busy getting ready to put my art up in a coffee shop and to do the Christmas market, which all happens like the 10th, 11th, and 12th of November. And so I've been making things, and the room has gotten to be a little bit of a mess and stuff. So today I spent some time getting it all organized, and I get to my paints, and I was just basically putting them all neatly in color groups. And then I just noticed I needed to do some other work here. So what I keep my paints in, and I'm talking about my Liquitex Basics, the Artist Loft paints. This is a tote bag that I bought at Michael's, and I have actually two of them, and I love it because you can put it in. So, and I've basically organized, I've got greens and yellows, blues, purples, pinks and reds, and then all the other metallics and other colors go in here. And as you'll notice on the top, I have painted circles on there, and that's what I need to do. I've replaced a lot of these paints, and so a lot of my paints do not have that. Now, I do swatch out all the paints, and this is what I have here. And I draw a black line, and then I paint over that. And then I've written whether it's opaque or translucent. Now, opaque will cover more of the black line than something that is translucent. And it will say right on, like the Liquitex Basics, it'll say opaque. So you can kind of follow that. And I wrote that down more just to educate myself, to start becoming aware. When you're mixing colors, or you're putting one color on top of another color, if you put an opaque color on top of one color, it's going to pretty much block out what's underneath it. If you put a translucent one or a semi-translucent one, you will still see some of what's behind it show through. So there are times that is really, important when you're using the paints. So I have that. Now what I do with this is I have these, and I take pictures of them and keep it on my phone. So when I'm in the store and I'm not sure if I have that certain color, especially when you're building your stash, then I can quickly go and say, yeah, I do have brilliant purple, or I have diox purple, and I can bring it up and I see the colors. I can also, I recently just bought the Artist Loft Aqua, and it doesn't match. I brought this up on my phone, and it isn't the same color as any of them. So you can swatch it out, and I just did this on, kind of mixed media paper, and I used my punch, Happy Planner punch in there, and that just sits with my paints. So what you're going to need to label your paints, and I've done this also on all my craft paints as well, and I will show you a view of how I store my craft paints and stuff. And I've got a mixture of Martha Stewart, Deco Art craft paints, and my old Delta Cerem coats that are in excess of 20 years old. So they are, you know, I'm really impressed because they must be really good quality. So, you know, to have lasted that long. And they are. They're perfect. They didn't glob in. So what you're going to need is just something that you can pick up at the dollar store for, you know, it was $1.25. These 3/4 inch round labels. And I just pull out one of them and I just get a round brush and I have my water and I'm gonna, you know, kind of do this assembly line like. So another thing that I do with my paints periodically is just get rid of these, you know, paint boogers and kind of clear that up and just get a little bit of paint and paint that right on to here. And then I'm just going to put this away and grab the next color and just keep going that way. Now on here I can write, you know, put an O on it for opaque if I wanted, or translucent, put a T on it as well if I want. So, you know, do what works for you. I've also, you know, I'm just going assembly line fashion here. Just love this turquoise. And this kind of swatches it out for you. And when you have them, when you're storing them, it's really easy to see, to find the colors that you're looking for. But it's also easy to compare. A little too much water on my brush. To compare the colors. You tend to follow, you know, grab, if you're like me, you tend to grab the same colors all the time. And sometimes, you know, also something you know, like even though this is dioxazine purple in the brand that I had before was a very different purple. It was more, it was blue. It was kind of between aquamarine and this. This is different. So, you know, even if it's same colors, it's a good process. It helps you get to know your paints and it helps in the day-to-day process. So I'm just painting it on. I could use a heat tool to dry this. I like not to do that because it tends to, you know, get the gum from the sticky all kind of weird. Lovely new color. I do prefer the Liquitex Basics. I like them more, but some of the colors that that you can get with the Artist Loft, you can't get in the Liquitex Basics. So, and for the purposes of most of what I create, it works just fine. This is another color. I have some Deco Art Americana Premiums paints, and they are kind of the consistency of, they're between the Artist Loft and Liquitex Basics and the craft paint. That is a lovely color. And let's paint. There's my Prussian blue. And even though, like, you look here, it looks very similar in color, you can tell instantly on the swatches that they are different. Okay, so once that's done, I am just going to peel them off and put them on the top like that. Now, you'll notice that I have two of this this yellow green. And I have a brand new one here. So I'm gonna, since I'm doing this, I'm gonna put this on right now. Now, one of the ways that I keep track, this is almost out. And now that I've bought this, what I do is I just put a strip of masking tape on this, telling me that I have already purchased another tube of this and it's in the cupboard, so not to buy another one. So, you know, here I have the same with this. I have two of these of the metallic cobalt teal, which is a lovely color. And I don't go through a lot when it comes to mixed media stuff, but I've been doing some acrylic pours, and this color is just to die for in the pores. So one will go in my stash and one will go here. So I'm just going to peel and stick as it goes. Turquoise. Now, when I started, I bought the little tubes, like a set of 24, to see if I liked working with the Liquitex Basics. So that kind of got me into it a little bit. I didn't, you know, and I liked it well enough. Prussian blue again. I've talked about my Prussian blue and how favorite of a color it is, which is why I have now 3 containers of it, because it is such a favorite. I use it almost on every mixed media project, but it is also another wonderful color for acrylic pours. See, when you look at this, you would think this green, it's so dark, but there you go. It's much lighter in reality. This is the iridescent medium, and I'll put a link to using iridescent medium or silver to make all your paints metallic. You don't need to go buy every shade and have it metallic. You can make it yourself, and I will put a link to that video. Okay, so then we're just going to put this up, and you're going to be able to really see, you know, when you look at the blues here and the greens, you can see the differences. That they are. And sometimes there's less of a difference, but this just helps pick out. So I just slot this in here. Typically when I go on a create date, if I don't know what colors I'm using, and sometimes I don't know, I just grab this whole container and I am ready to go. The other paints that I don't, and my little tubes, I just put on the side. I've got, you know, a couple of Liquitex heavy bodied and a couple Goldens and stuff. I just put those there. So this is just quite handy. It's sturdy and strong. I will look on Amazon and see if I can find something similar, but this was at Michael's and I think it still is. And so now, one of the other things when it comes to paint, once a tube is almost empty, so this gold is pretty close to empty, what I do, don't just throw this out, you know, because you can try and squeeze out, you know, all the paint, and you know, it's right now, it's kind of like you can't even get any out. You just can't. Don't throw this away. What you can do is just take the scissors, and I get these, I bought these at the dollar store, and they actually are quite airtight and I like them, but you can also buy these condiment ones, and you can buy a pack of 10 of these condiment ones at the dollar store. You don't have to buy bulk. So what I do, squeeze it out as much as you can, and then I just cut it open. Now look at all the paint that's in there. It is, you know, there is lots of it. And I just grab it and put it in one of these containers. Now these stay on my desk. They just stay right close to where I'm at. If I'm doing an acrylic pour, I will use this first. And if I'm just using my mixed media, I'll just grab. So sometimes you'll see me working from a little, you know, and people have asked, what's with the little containers? Like, why is your paint in there? I do keep black and white because I buy the supersized black and white in the Liquitex Basics because I go through so much. And so when I'm using it, which is a lot, I just have it right here. So you can see how much paint was in here. I've seen people cut it open like I did. They cut it open more to at the end here, and then they just take a bulldog clip and hold it closed. And that will keep it for a bit. I think this way is a little bit more airtight, but you know, do what works for you. So now I'm completely done. And this just goes, there's my set, and I've got, you know, a few colors here that I've kind of emptied out, but I mean, I've emptied out, and look at, this is a full container of this yellow. So it's deceptive how much paint can be in there. So there is my craft paint. I was fortunate enough, I kind of came up with this design or copied a design, and my dad had made it just with MDF, and he just drilled them, and so they kind of sit there, and you can see that I've labeled them as well with their color swatches. And you can see all of them. I'm kind of in the process, I want to use this up, you know, and the truth of the matter is, if that's what you have is craft paint, use the craft paint. You don't need. So my Liquitex Basics and my heavy body paints, I have it in the bag, in this tote that I talked about, and it just sits here on this Raskog cart at the top. And so I find that works well for me. So before we close this all about paint stash video to an end, I just thought maybe I would include a little bit about the fine line applicator bottles. If you've watched my video in the last year, you will have seen me using these bottles a lot. I find them very useful. They are quite a necessity, and in fact, I just bought 2 more of them. In these bottles, I have white, black, gold, and Prussian blue. And I'm thinking maybe Payne's Gray. I'm going to add one with Payne's Gray, which is kind of a blue tint black. So it's kind of like if you married these 2 together, the black and the Prussian blue. And I'm going to do a brown because I think that might be a basic enough color. So when you buy them, there are 2 different sizes. This one is fine tip and it's 20 gauge, and this is the one I like. I think this is a finer tip. I think there's a 15 gauge and it's wider. It might have a different color, but I just wanted to say mine is 20 gauge. And the bottles, you can buy the lids just as they are, and they will fit on some other 2-ounce bottles. None that I have, so I'm not sure what they fit on, but you might want, once you have that, let's see, I have these little bottles. Does it fit on? Nope, doesn't fit on those either. So I'm not sure. Anyways, it does screw on other ones, but I like this flat shape. It makes it very easy to hold, and you do not have to put a whole lot of pressure on it. In fact, that's what it says right on here. What it does is you can take this off, and in here is a wire, and that goes into the needle and keeps it from clogging, which is really important with acrylic paint. It will clog, so this keeps it from doing that. And the odd time I've had to take it and clean it, I just take this off, unscrew this. This will even come off, and I've soaked it in my Murphy's Oil soap mixture, which is dish detergent, Murphy's Oil soap, and water. And I've soaked it in there, and I've been able to clean it. Periodically, and it's just, you screw it in right away. Periodically, I empty whatever's in here, whether I've used it or not. Get rid of it. Now, with all of these, I have used Liquitex Basics. I believe this is Grumbacher. This one was this is Artist Loft, and that has not globbed up. When I used regular craft paint, it did kind of get globby after a time. But that being said, it was a considerable amount of time. So again, if that's what you have, don't go buy something new. So what I'm going to do, when I mix them, I do not make an entire thing full because it lasts a really long time. And I simply kind of eyeball it and I test to get the consistency that I want. Usually I'm doing this, I'm using these fine line bottles as I would a micron pen or as I might use a fine liner brush. It gives that nice line for edging a project, for outlining a focal point. So I just kind of test to see that it has enough paint in it. So you just put the paint in. Knock it down. And this is, it's terribly difficult to figure out how much paint you're using. There we go. So there's not a whole lot of paint in here. So don't go and try this and put a whole lot. Okay, I think that's where I'm going. Now this is just water. It's not distilled water or anything. Use your own discretion if you've got, for me it's just tap water and that works. And I'm adding, I'd say I start with about 2 to 1 to water. And I'm just going to shake that up and test it and see. That's why it looks like it's completely full. And it has to be quite well shaken up. So if these have sat for a while, I will shake them up before I start using them as well. Some people have put in here, they put gel, not gel medium, matte medium, which is the liquid form of it. And then you have a very fine applicator. That's not how I create, so, but it is another use for it. So then when I use it, I always get it going off my project. So I'm finding this just a little too thick. I'm having to put a lot of pressure, so I'm thinking a little bit more water. You could use this, use a pipette. A little bit more water. You want it to come out easily without having to put a whole lot of pressure, but you don't want it to just flow like water, right? And it's holding its shape. Like the line isn't bleeding out and getting fatter. So that's what you want. If you have too much water, it's going to get really, really thick. You want to maintain that fine line. Then once you have it, take the time to practice. I just spent a lot of time when I started just, you know, making circles, shapes. You can make squigglies. Just practicing. You can kind of hold it like a pen. But pretty much it's making that. One of the things that I like, it can make dots. But it won't be 3D like stickles or some of those things. But it will hold its shape. I'm just gonna, not doing fine art here, but I'll give you a little bit of a closer upper. It will you can do dashes, you can do X's. I like to do, I'm just going to move this. Find. Here's a card. I'm just going to edge this. And this has texture on it. So I'm trying to make this sketchy. I'm not trying to make a solid line. When you do mixed media, quite often we have texture on there, so you're not going to make a perfectly straight line. Oh, I like the brown. It's a good neutral. There we go. So there you have it. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope if you want the link to the fine liner bottles, I'll put that in the description box below in my Amazon links. I will also look for a paint tote bag similar to what I have in Amazon, and any other products, you know, as well as these round labels, because I realize that not all of us live right where there's a dollar store or have easy access to it. So the thing about Amazon links, I do get a small commission. Thank you for shopping through those links. It does not cost you more. I look for the best deal with 0 shipping, but always, always, always check that out for yourself. Check that the prices are good and that you're not being dinged for extra shipping, because it sometimes changes from the time that I put it in my store and have a link to it. And, you know, I don't go every week and check all the links and maintain that. So just a cautionary. I know for myself, you know, sometimes there's a huge difference. You know, one time it's $3, the next time it's $10. So, you know, buyer beware, do your own due diligence. As I was saying, hopefully you find this video interesting. I plan on doing more build your stash organization videos, because I think that it goes hand in hand. You want your stash to be organized in a way that you can access it quickly and easily, and be able to know where you have your stuff so that you are using the stuff in your stash. The goal of the build the stash isn't to build your stash and have the most stuff stored. The goal is to use it. Give me a thumbs up. Share the video with your crafty friends. Bye for now.
If you wish to support my channel, you can shop through my Amazon influencer links or make a donation through my PayPal link. Both of these links can be found in the description box below. Thank you so much for supporting my channel.